안녕하세요.
The city lights flickered through the vast windows of Kang Enterprises' skyscraper. Inside his luxurious office, Kang Ji-hoon sat behind his imposing mahogany desk, reviewing documents with an expression as cold as the winter night outside. He had built a reputation as a ruthless businessman, someone who allowed no distractions from his work. To him, business came first. There was no room for emotional detours. But that was before Yoon Ha-ri entered his life. Ha-ri, a dedicated secretary in the administrative department, never expected to interact directly with the CEO. To her, Ji-hoon was just a distant figure, unreachable and intimidating, someone whose presence made employees hold their breath. She had always seen him passing through the hallways, his suit impeccable, posture rigid, and gaze analytical. He didn't seem like the type to waste time on small talk, but fate had other plans. That night, Ha-ri was overwhelmed with work. Her supervisor had asked her to deliver an urgent report to the finance department, and as always, she didn't hesitate. Rushing through the hallways with her arms full of folders and a cup of coffee precariously balanced in her hand, she turned the corner hastily and collided straight into someone. The impact was unavoidable. Papers flew, coffee spilled onto the floor, and an absolute silence settled in the hallway as Ha-ri blinked, stunned. Ha-ri's heart pounded as she recognized the figure before her, Kang Ji-hoon, the CEO himself. He stared at her with an unreadable expression, his eyes slightly narrowed. The silence was suffocating. "Do you always run through the hallways like this?" he asked, his voice deep and controlled. There was no anger, but a coldness that made Ha-ri swallow hard. Her face instantly flushed. "I'm sorry, sir. It was an accident. I didn't see you there." Her voice came out shaky as she quickly knelt to gather the scattered papers. Her heart raced, and she was already imagining the consequences of this disaster. Would she be fired? Publicly reprimanded? Ji-hoon was not known for his patience, but to her surprise, he said nothing more. Instead, he crouched down beside her and began helping her collect the documents. Ha-ri's eyes widened. Never, in her 2 years at the company, had she imagined seeing CEO Kang Ji-hoon doing something so human. The employees passing by in the hallway also seemed incredulous, but no one dared to comment. Ha-ri felt her face heat up even more when their hands almost touched while reaching for the same paper. She immediately pulled her hand away, avoiding his gaze. Ji-hoon's woody cologne surrounded her, and for a brief moment, her heart beat in a different rhythm. Ji-hoon, in turn, studied the woman in front of him. Something about her intrigued him. Maybe it was the way her eyes reflected a mix of panic and determination, or how her posture showed humility, but not complete submission. Somehow, he sensed that this girl was different. Once the papers were gathered again, he stood up and brushed off the non-existent dust from his suit. "You're Yoon Ha-ri from administration, right?" His voice carried a tone that left no room for mistakes. She nodded nervously. "Yes, sir." Ji-hoon crossed his arms, analyzing her for a moment that felt like an eternity. "Starting tomorrow, I want you to work as my temporary assistant. Report to my office in the morning." Ha-ri's eyes widened. "What?" "You heard me." Without further explanation, he turned and walked down the hallway, leaving Ha-ri completely stunned. Employees whispered around her, shocked by the CEO's sudden decision. After all, Ji-hoon had never shown any interest in anyone from the administrative team. Ha-ri's heart pounded in her chest. Working directly with the CEO? Was this a dream or a nightmare? Her instincts told her that her life was about to change forever. Little did they know that this unexpected encounter was only the beginning of a story that would defy all the rules of fate. The morning sun shone through the mirrored windows of Kang Enterprises, reflecting the grandeur of the building where Yoon Ha-ri would now enter as the CEO's temporary assistant. Her heart was still racing from the encounter the night before. Kang Ji-hoon's sudden decision had left her in a mix of nervousness and anticipation. As she stepped onto the executive floor, the employees' gazes turned toward her. Discreet whispers spread throughout the space. Everyone was curious to know why. All of a sudden, a mere administrative secretary had been promoted to the feared CEO's assistant. Ignoring the gossip, Ha-ri took a deep breath and walked toward Ji-hoon's office door. She knocked lightly, and heard the firm voice from the other side. "Come in." Upon opening the door, she found Ji-hoon seated behind his imposing desk, flipping through some documents. His cold gaze barely lifted to acknowledge her. "Sit." He gestured toward the chair in front of him. Hari obeyed, keeping her hands on her lap to hide the slight trembling caused by her nerves. Ji-hoon closed the folder and finally lifted his eyes to her. "Starting today, you will work directly for me. That means your routine will be different. I want you to review contracts, organize meetings, and be available whenever I need you. No delays, no excuses. Understood?" She nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." Ji-hoon narrowed his eyes, assessing her. "I chose you because I want efficiency. I hope you won't disappoint me." A chill ran down Ha-Rai's spine. "I will do my best." Before he could continue, the office door suddenly swung open, and an elegant woman entered. Her heels echoed through the room as a forced smile appeared on her lips. "Ji-hoon, darling." CEO Minju, the woman everyone knew to be the CEO's arranged fiancée, walked confidently toward his desk. Her sharp eyes briefly analyzed Hari before turning back to Ji-hoon. "You didn't even tell me you were getting a new assistant. What a surprise." The sweetness in her voice was artificial. Ji-hoon leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "I don't see why I should inform you. It's a professional matter." Minju smiled, but her expression was laden with intent. "Well, I do hope Miss Hari, knows how to behave properly in the workplace." Hari felt the tension in the air but maintained her composure. "I will do my job with dedication, ma'am." Minju let out a light laugh. "Great. So Ji-hoon, can we have lunch together today? We have a lot to discuss." Ji-hoon glanced at Hari. "Check my schedule and let me know if there are any open slots." Hari nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." Minju pressed her lips together slightly, clearly displeased with Ji-hoon's lack of enthusiasm. Before leaving, she cast Hari one last look, a silent warning that she did not want her there. As soon as the door closed, Ji-hoon let out a quiet sigh and turned back to Hari. "Prepare the documents for the 3 o'clock meeting and bring me a coffee. Black, no sugar." Hari immediately stood. "Yes, sir." As she left the office, she felt the weight of her new position. Working alongside Kang Ji-hoon would be no easy task, especially with the shadow of Seo Minju looming over her. But for some reason, Hari felt that her fate was intertwined with this man. And maybe, just maybe, that cold heart would begin to melt, little by little. The days passed quickly, and Yoon Hari began to adapt to the intense pace of working alongside Kang Ji-hoon. Each encounter between them seemed wrapped in silent tension, a game of furtive glances and carefully measured words. He was demanding, meticulous, and ruthless when it came to business. But behind that rigid facade, Hari was beginning to see traces of humanity. That afternoon, Ji-hoon and Hari were in an important meeting with foreign investors. Seated in the elegant conference room, Hari took meticulous notes, while Ji-hoon led the presentation with his commanding presence and firm voice. His sharp reasoning and absolute control over the negotiation made everyone in the room listen intently. However, in the middle of the discussion, Hari noticed something unusual. The CEO, always so focused, was discreetly pressing his temples. His face was slightly pale. A faint furrow of his brows revealed his discomfort. She knew he would never show weakness in front of investors, but it concerned her. When the meeting ended and the investors took their leave, Ji-hoon stood up slowly. As the last of them exited, he subtly leaned against the table. Hari hesitated for a second before stepping closer. "Mr. Kang, are you all right?" Her voice carried genuine concern. Ji-hoon took a deep breath before straightening his posture. "I'm fine. Get back to work." Hari narrowed her eyes. "With all due respect, sir, you don't look fine." He stared at her for a moment, surprised by her boldness. It was uncommon for anyone to question his resilience. Before he could respond, his vision darkened for a second, and he felt his body lose a bit of balance. Without thinking twice, Hari reached for his arm. "You need to sit down for a moment." He hesitated but eventually relented, allowing Hari to guide him to the leather sofa in a more private corner of the room. She quickly grabbed a glass of water and handed it to him. "Does this happen often?" she asked, watching as he drank slowly. Ji-hoon ran a hand over his face, sighing. It's nothing serious, just accumulated fatigue. Ha-ri crossed her arms. Accumulated fatigue can become a serious problem, sir. Have you eaten today? He looked at her, as if it were the first time someone had asked him that question with genuine concern. I haven't had time. Ha-ri discreetly rolled her eyes before grabbing her phone and sending a message. Ji-hoon raised an eyebrow. What are you doing? Ordering food for you. There's no point in being a brilliant CEO if you end up fainting in the middle of a meeting. Ji-hoon stared at her, surprised. It was rare for anyone to speak to him that way. Normally, people feared him or tried to please him out of self-interest. But Ha-ri didn't seem concerned with his status, simply wanted to help him. After a few minutes, a delivery arrived at the reception, and Ha-ri brought the tray to him. Here it is, and no excuses, sir. You're going to eat. He sighed, but picked up the chopsticks and began eating in silence. Ha-ri sat beside him, watching out of the corner of her eye. A small smile played on her lips as she saw him finally give in to her care. The comfortable silence was abruptly interrupted when the door opened without warning. Seo Minju entered with her impeccable posture and sharp gaze. Her eyes immediately locked onto the scene before her. Ji-hoon sitting, eating, while Ha-ri sat beside him with a gentle expression. What is going on here? Minju's voice carried a tone of disdain. Ji-hoon set his chopsticks down on the tray and looked at Minju without emotion. I'm having lunch. Is there a problem? Minju crossed her arms. Since when do you have lunch with employees? Ha-ri felt a chill run down her spine but maintained her composure. Ji-hoon, however, kept his gaze firm on Minju. Since my assistant has been more concerned about my health than anyone else around me. Minju's expression hardened. We need to talk. In private. Ji-hoon stood up, adjusted his suit, and looked at Ha-ri. Go back to your office. I'll call for you later. Ha-ri nodded quickly and left the room, feeling the tension thick in the air. As she walked back to her desk, her heart pounded. She didn't know what Ji-hoon and Minju would discuss, but she had a feeling that, from that moment on, things were about to change drastically. Ha-ri tried to concentrate on her work, but her mind kept drifting back to the moment she left Ji-hoon and Minju alone. The cold gaze of his arranged fiancée still lingered in her memory, and whatever was happening in that room, she knew it was because of her. The minutes dragged on until finally Ji-hoon emerged from the meeting room. His face was serious, but his eyes met Ha-ri's for a brief moment before he disappeared down the hallway. Minju followed soon after, her heels echoing against the marble floor, a triumphant expression on her face. Ha-ri felt a tightness in her chest, but avoided looking directly at the woman. Minju stopped beside her desk and leaned in slightly, her voice low and cutting. Don't delude yourself, Ha-ri. You don't belong in this world. People like you are only useful up to a certain point. Ha-ri kept her posture firm, but Minju had already turned her back before she could respond. Taking a deep breath, she tried to focus on her tasks, but an uneasiness grew inside her. Was Ji-hoon giving in to his family's pressure? Did he really care about her? Or was all of this just a fleeting fantasy? Hours later, near the end of the workday, Ha-ri received a short message from Ji-hoon. Meeting room 2. Now. Her heart pounded. She walked to the designated room and found Ji-hoon standing by the glass window, gazing at the illuminated cityscape. He didn't turn when she entered. You want to know what I told Minju? His voice was low but carried an emotional weight Ha-ri had rarely heard in him. She hesitated before responding. If it's something I should know, then yes. He finally turned, his dark eyes meeting hers. I told her I won't marry her, that this agreement between our families should never have existed. Ha-ri's eyes widened. What? Ji-hoon sighed, running a hand through his hair. Minju was furious, but I can't keep pretending this marriage makes sense. Not when. He stopped for a moment, as if debating whether he should say it. Not when my heart has already chosen someone else. The air between them grew heavy. Ha-ri felt her hands grow clammy, her heartbeat racing. Ji-hoon, you know this isn't simple. Your family, my family has never approved of any of my decisions. My father wants the perfect heir to continue the empire. My mother wants to maintain appearances, and Minju wants power. He stepped closer to her, his voice firm. But what about you, Ha-ri? What do you want? She felt her breath hitch. Jae-hoon slowly raised his hand as if he wanted to touch her face, but stopped at the last moment. I can fight against everyone, face my family, end this ridiculous arrangement. But I need to know if it's worth it. Hari felt the weight of his words. This wasn't just a fleeting passion nor a reckless whim. It was real. But so was the fear. The fear of not being enough, of being crushed by his world. She took a deep breath. Are you really willing to fight for something uncertain? Jae-hoon didn't hesitate. If it's for you, yes. Hari felt tears threaten her eyes but refused to let them fall. Instead, she smiled faintly. Then prove it to me. Ji-hoon smiled back, a determined gleam in his eyes. I already have. And at that moment, she knew her world would never be the same again. The next day, Yoon Hari arrived at the company, feeling the weight of Ji-hoon's words still echoing in her mind. He was willing to face everything for her, but was she truly ready to do the same for him? Her heart screamed yes, but her reason warned of the consequences. However, her doubts didn't have time to settle completely. The moment she stepped into the office, she felt the stares of her colleagues. Whispers echoed through the hallways. Judgmental gazes followed her every move. Something was happening, and Hari felt a chill down her spine as she realized she was at the center of it. As soon as she reached her desk, her phone vibrated with a message from her friend and coworker, Yoon-bi. Have you seen the articles? Confused, Hari quickly opened her browser. Several gossip sites and financial news portals had bombastic headlines plastered across their pages. CEO Kang Ji-hoon breaks engagement for company employee. Forbidden romance in the Kang Empire? Who is Yoon Ha-ri, the woman who won the billionaire's heart? Her stomach churned. The media had found out. Before she could fully process the information, her phone rang. It was Ji-hoon. Did you see the news? His voice was firm but carried a noticeable tension. I just saw it. How did this leak? Her voice came out softer than she intended. Ji-hoon sighed. My family. They want to force me to back down, so they use the media to apply pressure. They know that by exposing you like this, things will become more difficult for us. Hari tightened her grip around the phone. Won't this hurt the company? They don't care about the company, only about the family's image. But I won't let them hurt you, Hari. Do you trust me? She closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. Yes. The call ended, but the war was just beginning, and the first battle came far too quickly. A few minutes later, Hari was summoned to the company's boardroom. When she entered, she found a long table surrounded by stern executives, and at the head of it sat Kang Tae-sung, the patriarch of the Kang family and chairman of the conglomerate. His sharp gaze pierced through her the moment she walked in. Ji-hoon was already there, seated at the table with a hardened expression. The moment Hari entered, he instinctively stood up, but his father raised a hand, signaling for him to stay where he was. Sit down, Miss Yoon, Kang Tae-sung commanded, his voice laced with cold authority. Hari hesitated but obeyed. Let's be direct, he continued. You know this relationship cannot continue. It damages the company's image and distracts Ji-hoon from his true role. Hari swallowed hard. With all due respect, Sir Ji-hoon's personal life shouldn't be a company matter. Tae-sung let out a dry chuckle. Naive. A Kang's life is never just his own. He has responsibilities that extend beyond foolish emotions. Do you know what the press is saying? You will be seen as the ambitious woman who ruined an arranged marriage between two powerful families. Ji-hoon leaned forward, his fists clenched on the table. Father, enough. I'm not backing down. The patriarch shifted his sharp gaze to his son. If you insist on this, consider yourself out of the company. The silence that followed was suffocating. Hari felt her heart race. Losing the company meant losing everything Ji-hoon had worked for. Was it truly fair to ask him to face this? But Ji-hoon didn't hesitate. Then so be it. I resign. The room erupted in murmurs. The directors exchanged shocked glances. Tae-sung slammed his hand against the table. You're willing to throw your career away for this woman? Ji-hoon stood up, pulling Hari by the hand. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing my own happiness, something you never did. Before his father could respond, Ji-hoon walked out of the room, taking Hari with him. The hallways were even more chaotic, with the rumors spreading like wildfire. But Hari couldn't think of anything else except the warmth of Ji-hoon's hand holding hers. They stopped in front of the elevator. Ji-hoon looked into her eyes. "Do you still think I'm not serious?" Hari felt tears welling up. "You just gave up everything for me." He smiled softly. "I only chose you, and now we'll build something together." The elevator doors opened, and hand in hand, they walked out of the company, ready to face the world side by side. The days that followed were turbulent, but Ji-hoon and Hari faced everything together. The media spared no effort in exploiting the story, and the Kang family did everything they could to convince him to go back. But nothing made Ji-hoon change his mind. He gave up his position in the company, severed ties with his influential family, and started a new chapter of his life alongside Hari. Even without the Kang Enterprises empire, Ji-hoon didn't remain idle. With years of experience and valuable connections in the market, he founded his own company with a different purpose: to create something that wasn't just about profit and status, but about innovation and meaning. And Hari was by his side every step of the way, helping him build something from scratch. However, not everything was easy. The beginning was tough. They faced financial struggles and the pressures of the outside world. Hari had to bear the weight of public exposure, while Ji-hoon had to prove to himself that he could succeed without the shadow of his family. But their love only grew stronger. They supported each other through every stumble, celebrated every small victory, and above all, never gave up on one another. Months later, on a sunny spring afternoon, Ji-hoon took Hari to the garden of a small house they had visited a few times before. It was a special place for them, far from the chaos of the city, a refuge where they could dream in peace. He held her hand firmly and looked into her eyes. "Do you remember when you asked me if it was worth fighting for something uncertain?" Hari smiled softly. "I remember." Ji-hoon knelt before her, holding a small blue velvet box. "Now, I can give you certainty. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Hari. Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Hari's eyes, but this time, they were of pure happiness. Without hesitation, she answered, "Yes." They got married in an intimate ceremony, surrounded by friends and the people who truly mattered. Without the burden of family expectations or the judgment of high society, the wedding was filled with laughter, tears, and heartfelt promises of a future together. Years later, Ji-hoon and Hari stood in the backyard of their dream home, watching the sunset. Hari cradled a small baby with rosy cheeks in her arms, while Ji-hoon wrapped them both in a protective embrace. "Do you ever regret leaving everything behind?" Hari asked, gently stroking their daughter's tiny hand. Ji-hoon smiled, kissing her forehead. "I didn't leave everything behind. I simply chose what truly mattered." And so, they built a life founded on love, perseverance, and the courage to defy fate. Together, they not only survived the storms but learned to dance in the rain, proving that true success isn't found in wealth or power, but in the people we choose to love and protect.